Well, hello, my beauties. How are you doing? I am Goat. Welcome back to Warframe. We are at the subjectively silly tier list time, because that is exactly what this is. Anybody who is not familiar with my tier lists, I'm just going to put it out there as why I name it what it is. Quite simply, tier lists are silly. You can never, ever take out the subjective thought process behind what a tier list is, because we all have our gameplay choices. Yes, you can hear the game in the background because I wanted some other kind of noise. But tier lists in themselves, when we point at all these frames, right? We see all these frames down here below the tier list, and we automatically go, oh, there's a place in my heart with this frame. I try to keep it as my subjectivity out of it, but it's kind of impossible. Okay, let's be honest. So, I've already preset a tier list over here, so when you see me looking over here, that's what I'm doing. But we're going to get after this. So, with the pseudo-exalted rework, and by the way, I have changed up my stuff without descriptions. I have S tier, A plus A, B plus B, C plus C, D, and F. F are frames that are... I just want to be 100% about this, okay? S tier is absolutely fucking broken. No way to get around it. A plus tier is goddamn good, okay? Just goddamn good. Very hard to die with. Excellent area controller, good with squads or solo. And effectively an annihilator of enemies, okay? Any of those things apply. A tier, extremely good frame, okay? Extremely good frame. Squad support, you know, highly self-sustainable, both with energy or function, very detrimental to enemies, is super easy to use, so on and so forth. You know, kind of in the unkillable range. Unkillable frames are really good, but I don't consider unkillable frames to be an S-tier frame these days, okay? I just don't. I actually like frames that can die, but those frames usually kill the shit out of stuff really easy. But it's also a matter of scaling those kills, right? So... B plus, very serviceable frame. Either has gotten better, has stayed the same, is just really good in general. Again, I like frames that fit this category for, you know, solo play, for squad play, something that's not going to inhibit, but something that's also going to be beneficial, possibly, or at least for your own sole purposes of self-sustainability. Straight B tier, very decent frames. They can be level cap frames, they can be mid-tier frames, but a solid B frame is nothing of a bad grade at all. It's just kind of more of a subjective playstyle. Some of these frames are a little bit more one note, some of them have gotten new augments recently, some have limitations and we'll talk about it. Some are newer, some have been reworked. I mean, we're just going to go over the whole shebang. C plus tier. Basically, really good frame, but a little bit more on the niche side, and I'm going to have to explain them as we go. C tier. Kind of stuck in its own gameplay loop, okay? 100% a frame that's really stuck in its own gameplay loop. Not very playable, because I'm a firm believer that every frame in this game has a way to play, okay? I personally believe that every single frame in this game has a use, okay? As far as you can take every single game up in high, or every single frame up in high level content, just depending on how you want to play it. So I'm not trying to bag on anybody's favorite frame here. There's only a couple of really bad ones. And then frames that are in need of a rework are basically in D tier. It's not that you can't play them, because I've proven that you can in frame builds that you've already seen or upcoming. But frames that really kind of need some love from Jesus Christ himself. And then F tier, frames that are in dire fucking need of a rework because they are intrusive or have no survivability, or they just have problems. So we're going to start this out, and I already know I'm going to get shit for this. We're going to start with Ash, right? Sorry for that clip there. We're going to start with Ash. Ash is a solid B tier frame. Okay? Ash can be higher than that, depending on how you play and how you build. But the problem is that Ash's ultimate ability is a very slow grind, build up combo, do whole lots of ninja kill. Even with some of the bumps to Ash, Ash has still kind of suffered from just kind of a methodical playstyle. Can Ash absolutely kill shit? Yes. Can Ash do it with extreme prejudice? Absolutely, you can. But Ash is kind of good, but not excellent good. Now, if you disagree, that's fine. The next frame, Atlas. This is where I absolutely struggle because Atlas got probably the biggest bump with the Exalted Weapon rework. My personal opinion. The Iron Fist Prime, or whatever the fuck those things are called, the big rock, the landslide Prime, whatever the hell those damn things are called. Yeah, those got really, really good and made Atlas, even though Atlas still basically turned people to stone and uppercut, now that you can mod that bullshit, it is a whole different realm of crazy instead of having a stat stick that shit. So Atlas really, really destroys stuff. But that being said, Atlas has improved from like a C tier frame, my personal opinion, into a B plus tier frame. He basically just kills everything in front of him, but he's still stuck in that little bit of a kind of a funky gameplay loop, but it's gotten a lot better. It's not quite as boring because you can do some really ludicrous numbers with him now. Next frame, Banshee. I'm going to put Banshee in the realm of F tier. Now, I have to be open and honest about Banshee. Banshee is absolutely playable with Gloom. Okay, Helmet exists. That's a thing, right? And Banshee has some really, really high function uses. But compared to the rest of the frames in the game, Banshee needs love from Jesus Christ himself. I'm just saying, Banshee needs a lot of love. The stuff that Banshee is capable of doing is really good, but it is at such a weakened state compared to the rest of the Warframe world right now, minus one other frame. That tells you how many are down here in the dear God give us a rework look. Yeah. Our next frame, Baruch. I think this should come as absolutely no surprise. A plus frame. Absolutely unbelievable frame. Not cracked, not broken, but absolutely destroys any poor bastard that's within the range of this fucker's fourth ability. Baruch just kills shit. That is what Baruch does, and Baruch is exceptionally good at it and not dying while doing it. Our next frame, Caliban. Caliban. Now, I was just talking in the last video about Caliban being a lot more fun. Caliban used to hang out here in the bottom row. Caliban was dog shit. Caliban is now, my personal opinion, a B tier frame. Very self-sustainable, has multiple good abilities that actually work properly. With his new augment, basically making the turret sentients, the ones that, in my personal opinion, were the worst of the bunch, now basically blast the shit out of a whole group of enemies just by grouping them up with the first ability. And having the sentients actually constantly feeding you shields as long as they're not broken is actually really fucking good, surprisingly. The fact that you can regen health, you can regen shields, you can regen energy, he is super self-sustainable. Is he top tier? Abso-fucking-lutely not, but is he pretty damn good? Yes. Now, this may surprise. Chroma. Chroma is in D tier. Chroma needs love. Okay? Anybody who plays Chroma, who mains Chroma, I'm sorry if you're mad about this. Chroma needs love. Chroma is absolutely playable as he is. The problem is that Chroma was made in the days of yesteryear, where incentivizing damage input to beef yourself up was really good, right? Like base star chart enemies, even when you were at level cap. But when you bump the damage output up of your enemies by 250% and add a minimum of 100 levels, and then you bump up their health and their armor and their shield by 250%, all of a sudden the type of damage that these fuckheads are outputting at level cap is crazy. What they're outputting at level 2000 is crazy in comparison to base star chart play. So all of a sudden the incentivizing taking damage by Chroma is not so nice. I think that there are other ways to make Chroma work and work exceptionally well and be really good, okay? But incentivizing taking damage instead of giving him realistic function of just standing there saying, hey, I want to be a pincushion so I may hurt you. I think there's a better workaround to that at this point. Just my opinion, take it for what it is. Next frame, Citrine. Citrine got her new augment mod for the giant crystal butt plug, and Citrine has always been, since she has released, a very fucking good frame. Anyway, solid A tier frame, no question about it. Citrine is very self-sustainable with her first ability, as you know, built in whatever way you like. She is really, really good. Her second ability of just basically surviving pretty much anything thrown at you is a pretty good time. Damage, 90% damage reduction as long as you're killing. Third ability, the prismatic gem, is great. Fourth ability is either use it or subsume it. Either way, and put on there whatever the fuck works for you. Citrine is really good. Now, this is one I think will surprise the fuck out of people, and I will explain why. Site 09. Site 09, my personal opinion, C tier frame. Again, you have to understand, by the tier, it is not by damage output. Okay? Site 09 can absolutely be a B plus tier frame. Okay? Maybe even an A tier frame, depending on your uses, your builds on his sniper rifle, and so on. The problem is Site 09 is much like Baruch, but way less survivable. His survivability is solely focused around being invisible, to where Baruch has other methods. So Site 09 basically is insanely powerful. Okay? Like, I wouldn't have any qualms whatsoever with putting him up here, but sad truth is that Site 09 wants to play alone. If you don't play alone, you need to really kind of get hokey pokey with the shields, or have somebody giving you overguard, which, if you have overguard, it doesn't matter what fucking frame you're running, you're not going to have a really hard time surviving anyway. But that deletes the whole problem behind Site 09, right? Like, you need to constantly be maintaining headshots in order to keep the one bit of survivability that he has functioning, which is his invisibility. So if you're with a squad of nukers, big problem. Site 09 all of a sudden is invisible. Yes, is there any enemies left? Probably not. Also depends on the mission, how far behind the squad you are. You can't really do the things that you normally would want to do with Site 09 because he's stuck behind the crowd of death. Site 09 is really good as a solo frame, in my personal opinion. Insanely fucking powerful. But in the base gameplay loop of things, I just think Site 09 is just kind of, here, I got big gun, I'm gonna pop your head and kill everything around you kind of bullshit. But if I'm with a squad, y'all are gonna fuck my day up, and I hope to hell nobody throws a bullet at my ass. Then you need to go, at least my personal playstyle, and again, this is a subjective part. My personal playstyle isn't so much focused around his unique ammo drops, but I use something like Condemn to give him shields, and then I give him a fuck ton of shield regen, so that way he can survive even if he's not invisible. Just putting it out there. I mean, personally, with my use with Site 09, he is definitely a C tier frame. I know I'm going to get shit for that one. I would be stunned if I didn't get shit for that one. Next frame, Dagoth. Dagoth is a solid B tier frame. Okay? Solid B tier frame. She could even be B plus. Again, it really kind of fits around the playstyle of what you're doing, which subsume, what you're subsuming off, so on and so forth. But Dagoth has a lot of power output, with one flaky little hiccup being that she can take a solid bullet in her ass more than a few times, and that becomes a problem as you start climbing in levels of gameplay. For casual gameplay, easy B plus tier frame. Anything beyond casual gameplay, without her augment, you can have some real problems. Just saying. Dante, without question, is an A plus frame. Okay, excuse me, just get over here next to Baruch, do your job. Dante, A plus frame, excellent squad support, excellent squad buff, excellent survivability. You can build the Noctua to actually help feed you energy. Noctua just pretty much kills everything. Lots of slash procs also make everything not like you. Yeah. Dante's just really fucking good. Next frame. Sadly, the next frame, Ember. Ember, my personal opinion, not necessarily stuck in a gameplay loop, but is just behind the times a little bit. Ember has a lot of function. The fact that she can build overguard for herself now, the fact that she can still build her own energy, the fact that they've reduced the amount of energy that it costs to just keep her immolation meter running is good. But I'm sorry, when the whole world on fire build just dies, Ember is really good, okay? But when you see this list as a whole, you're going to see some other frames that are just better. And this is kind of how I have to weigh it, right? Like, what frames do everything better? You know, Ash is survivable, murders things without impunity, and just, I mean, yes, is slow and methodical, but, I mean, when you're invisible and everybody's dead, you know, is that a problem? You know, Ember, yeah, has 90% damage reduction, the ability to armor strip and light people on fire like matchsticks, but she's like a mix between she wants to be a caster, but she's kind of a weapons platform too. It's really strange. Ember's in this weird gray area that she's really fucking good, but she's also not like amazing. So I think C plus, maybe B is fair, but I don't think anything higher than that is really truthfully fair to the game. So, a nuke frame, but also stuck in a gameplay loop. Equinox. I just shared not too long ago an Equinox nuke build. Basically add Terrify, put on some good weapons, and then basically armor strip, blast the third ability off, everybody fucking dies. It's a good time. Pure day build. It completely negates half of the kit. Okay? Therein lies the problem. Is there other ways to play Equinox? Yes, but from my personal perspective, subjective, silly subjective tier list, from my personal playstyle, my best possible build for Equinox is that nuke build. Okay, sure, I can walk into any map, jump around like a crazed Yoda, kill some people, build up a whole bunch of damage, blow a whole goddamn room up. That is really good, but that is a solid gameplay loop that you are horribly stuck in that isn't really the most sustainable long term. It kind of honestly gets a little old. Just saying, like the first few times you do it is like, hey, this is great. And then after that, it's like, all right. Excalibur. B tier frame. Easy B tier. I think Excalibur with the Exalted rework is why he has moved up to a B tier frame. There is a slight question in survivability, but again, melee influence exists, and coupled that with, you know, his chromatic blade augment and basically nothing, you know, it's one of those, survivability isn't a problem if everything's dead. You know, between, you know, slash dash and, you know, building up combo, giving you damage and vulnerability, complete damage and vulnerability while you're in that function, blinding enemies, throwing javelins at people, even if you're not using a subsume. And then, of course, his, you know, Exalted blade. I mean, just in general, Excalibur has gotten exponentially better just by an Exalted rework alone, just by being able to actually add an arcane. Even if you're not using melee influence, the swords are still really good, but you don't even need them because slash dash in itself is survivability. Just saying. Frost. Thank God reworks exist because Frost is an A tier mega squad support frame at this point. Next to Dante, Frost is like the best motherfucker out there to give massive amounts of overguard to your squad. That in itself is a huge boon. If you do something like my silly ass Fracture Blast build, then you've got a bunch of energy and health orbs laying the fuck around as well, which is just double the fun. So I'm just putting it out there. Frost, built right, is an absolute A-tier frame of squad support and solo play, because Frost can still do defensible stuff, and thank God in his rework they did away with the problems with the snow globe, and all of a sudden Frost is just really, really solid. Next frame, Gara. Guess what? Gara, for me, has gone from like a C-tier frame to a you know, mid-level B-tier frame to an A-plus frame, thanks to the Exalted rework. The Exalted rework basically made Gara go, I am now the easy button if I need to do anything in regards to abilities. So basically, almost the entire Hulvania calendar, except for breaking containers and destroying a tank, Gara will do. If y'all want it, I will shoot a fucking video as proof. You can literally do the entire goddamn calendar. Kill enemies with melees, kill enemies with abilities, kill this many of this faction. Just fucking Gara. Have a nice day. The whole fucking calendar is done on Steel Path. Have a nice time. It's Gara is just insanely good at this point. That's just what it is. Garuda. Garuda suffers from one singular problem. Okay? It's the fact that her talons are good, but there's other melees that are better, right? And the other problem, honestly, is that her blood altar is self-sustaining, but at the same time, subsumes exist, and truthfully, in my personal opinion, the best possible subsumer for somebody like Garuda to build health back up if you need energy, something like Gloom over Blood Altar makes Garuda really, really good. Now, is she like OP good? No. But is she extremely serviceable and very functional in most content? Absolutely she is. 100%. Gauss. Gauss, it's like I've said time and time again, there are very few frames in this game that I think are perfectly synergized. You know, Lavos, one of those frames, very perfectly synergized. Gauss is another one, very, very perfectly synergized, very powerful. That went in the wrong fucking spot. Absolute straight A tier frame. Very good, pretty easy to use, extremely survivable. Lots of good going on with Gauss. Lots of good going on with Gauss. You keep a battery meter up, basically you ain't dying. That's just how it is. Grendel. Y'all just saw my Grendel post of basically just nuking a fucking, or basically just bing-bonging a bunch of fucking, 20 enemies in the sim like it ain't no thing. Grendel suffers from one singular problem, and that is you must have people in your belly, right? Can't do jack shit until you eat somebody. That's all fine and well until you run into, like, let's say you're fighting Orokin in a survival, and then just all of a sudden, bingo bongo, all of a sudden everything has overguard and you can't eat them, and then the last people get digested. I truthfully wish that it wasn't like, here, there's a percentage of damage done to enemies in your belly, but there was more like, here, they're going to be in your belly this long. You can kind of time it out a little better that way. The fact that you are just basically slowly digesting enemies makes it a little bit more of a problem, and I do say slowly loosely because sometimes you digest them very quickly. So there's that. Aside from that, it's kind of a thing. So, Grendel, very good, very just solid frame. I think his rework was great. It's just keeping enemies in your belly keeps you from being very spammy, like you kind of want to be with him. Gyre. Gyre suffers from a singular problem, but she is still a B+ tier frame. Easy. Her singular problem is she has 0 survivability built into her kit. Thank God subsumes exist. Right? If you can just play shield games with her, Gyre just kind of electrocutes everybody to death like she's a walking fucking electric chair from death row. Pretty good time. Cathode current. Put a survivability function like Condemn or Pillage on her, over her stupid ass, second ability, I think, the ball that goes bouncing all over the place. You just replace that motherfucker with Pillage or Condemn, you're fine. Everything is golden with her. Stay golden, pony boy. Just saying. Haro. Haro gets a lot of shit. But I'm gonna be honest. Haro is another one of those frames that you could absolutely play without a subsume. But subsuming over Thurible is perfectly fine. A lot of people don't agree with that, but, or some people don't agree with that. Personally, I think Thurible is the one kind of ability that is great, but it's also got a crappy ass animation that you're stuck in and leaves you going, well, fuck me running. So, Haro as a whole is decent squad support, especially if you keep Thurible. The crit buff is nice, but overall, Haro is in himself a very, very good frame, putting him at B+. Hildren. Between Aegis Gale and one singular subsume that you can kind of pick where the fuck you want it to go, Hildren is very, very self-sustainable with just Aegis Gale and Condemn, and then a bunch of shields, and like, y'all just go back and look at the Hildren build. That absolutely puts her at an A frame. No question about it. Hildren is very, very, very good. She's not OP. She's very good. Hydroid. Hydroid's rework was fucking phenomenal. Okay? Hydroid's rework just made him really, really good. The hiccup is that the rework hit before the armor and health rework. So armor stripping isn't the highest necessity thing anymore, because armor isn't such an impeding thing. But it kind of doesn't really matter, because Hydra just kind of doesn't give a shit. He's over here going, fuck off, I'm going to kill you anyway. If not, I'm going to stagger the bejesus out of you and tear up your overguard and still fuck your ass up. Have a nice day. Hydroid is a definite A-tier frame for me. Inaros is unfortunately stuck in a gameplay loop of I have health, I must spin in tornadoes to keep that health. Just saying. He can negate status effects, that's great, but he can still take damage. And building around his rework causes him to have a few problems here and there. Is Inaros functional? Yes, but Inaros is walking proof positive of trying to health and armor tank with this game. It don't work. Okay? It just doesn't. Now, the next one, I am going to be 100% honest, is hugely subjective. Because there is some nuking function with this frame. There is some, really subjectively interesting builds that you can do with this frame. But personally, I just find that other frames do shit better, and I get really, really bored with this frame's existence. Not that she's bad, she's just, to me, kind of in the middle of the ether, as it were, and unfortunately stuck in a gameplay loop, which makes Ivara a C-tier frame. Just saying. Here we come with Prego Lady herself, Jade. Jade is really, really fucking good. Okay? I initially wanted to put Jade as an A-tier frame. I really did. I'm going to put Jade as a B+. Okay? I really am. And there is a reason behind it, okay? The flight mechanics of Jade, I really, really wish were more like Titania and less like Hildren. Albeit Hildren has the gravity thing that just pulls her down eventually. Jade does not. Jade can get ridiculously energy hungry, so you really have to kind of build around that particular problem, because that is everything about Jade's survivability. Basically throw first ability, which is on a timer, kind of like Wisp's, vitality bump, but way less functional. And then, basically try to reduce as much incoming damage as possible while you're flying the fuck around, and your mobility at that level of flying around is your survivability. If you run out of energy, surviving becomes a bit of a problem at times. So, her glory is great, her armor strip and slow is great, albeit it is very much line of sight. First ability is very functional. Jade is a really solid frame, but I just cannot go higher than a B+. I just can't. Korra. Are we going to question this? Korra's an A+. No getting around that. Korra is destructive as all fucking get out. Now, into the next one, Kome. Kome. Now, again, subjective on this one. I think Kome has a really decent duration endurance type setup to run with the decrees, right? The rest of Kome is kind of copium at best, okay? I mean, and it's, for lack of a better way to put it, Kome can do some really, really good shit, but I just feel like Kome is really stuck in this loop of, get decrees, get better. Without decrees, not so good. C-tier frame. Kalervo for me was like a B+ to an A-tier frame. Lots of good going on with Kalervo. And then his augment just came out. A+, easy A+, super survivable, very devastating, absolutely fucking devastating functions. Makes Kalervo very good. I mean, very good. Now, I just recently posted a Lavos video, right? And I said that if there was a closest thing to a frame that I would main out there, Lavos would be it, right? But I still have to be objective about my subjectivity, and that objectiveness puts me at Lavos being a C+ frame. Lavos is a really, really good utility frame. He's a solid health and armor tank with a little bit of shields, but the problem with Lavos still lies that he is mostly doing health and armor tank because there's not a lot of shields, so that invulnerability, that invulnerability time cracks a whole lot. And the higher in level you go, the more his cooldowns do become a big problem, meaning that you don't want to negate out and do negative efficiency because you kind of need those cooldowns to be able to cool down quicker with the third ability, and that does become a bit of a problem. So the final of the F tier frames, in God's name, can we please give this motherfucker a rework, is going to be Limbo. Now, Limbo is absolutely playable. Okay, I literally just showed a video of Limbo playing. I've taken Limbo into an hour-long survival with that build on Sedna and at the Kuva Fortress. It is completely doable. The problem is that Limbo has two issues. One, Limbo is doing something in the game now that is very much not in the loop of what the hell DE says they want frames to do. They don't want frames to impede other people, right? Kind of part of how Frost, Snow Globe got reworked, so you're not impeding other players' gameplays. Limbo does exactly that. Limbo is a very, very distracting and disruptive frame. So he's a very disruptive playstyle. Problem number one. Problem number two, the Eximus rework of 2021 absolutely nerfed down this fucker's passive, which is his only survivability, and basically now Eximus can just kill this bastard while he's in his rift, and he's kind of useless with this function unless you're shield gating with him, right? Or unless you have something to reduce a ton of incoming damage. They really, really fucked Limbo up with the Eximus rework. My cat's yelling at me through a door. Excuse me. Sorry, I need to turn my damn ringer back on. Our next frame, Loki. Loki. Where did I put him? There we go. So, Loki, Master of Invisibility, right? Trickery frame. Likes to make decoys, likes to switch with people, has an invincibility function with switch teleport. Does that make him a god level tier of a frame? No, he's a solid B tier frame. Loki is a very good frame, but he's not like OP as shit. So, next frame, Mag. Mag has lots of different applications. Personally, I think Mag is a solid A tier frame. I could see the argument for an A plus tier frame. I really can. The problem behind making Mag an A plus tier frame is that look at what the other frames can do. You got one that just survives, basically, no matter what the fuck you throw at him. Dante is basically just creating invulnerability on top of having shields and health with his overguard, plus buffing the fuck out of a squad. Gara is the one that says, if they're not alive, it doesn't count. Korra, if they're not alive, it doesn't count. And then Kalervo, it just destroys swaths of enemies. Yes, Mag can pull enemies in, use Breach Surge, use her too, and basically kill groups of enemies as they go. But not everybody is pulled into the bubble, and armor stripping just isn't as important as it used to be. So Mag is insanely good. Not, like I said, I mean, basically B plus and up. Really B tier and up are all really good. It's just subjectively different per tier because some frames are just getting better than others or just a little bit better at certain things than others. Right? Mesa fits right there with Mag. Mesa has a function. You cannot hit me and I'm going to auto-bot bullets at you. Is that the only thing she does? No. But is that exactly what she's really designed to do? Yes. So basically, subsume whatever the fuck you want to over her first ability because Ballistic Battery is just kind of a fucking joke. Shooting Gallery, depending on how you build her, can be useful. It can be absolutely fucking nothing. Because people shooting at you, jamming their guns doesn't really do shit, which means the only thing you're vulnerable to is melee attacks. Well, if they're dead, it doesn't really count. So, but people can sneak up behind you and melee you in your ass. Just throwing it out there. Mirage. Mirage fits also into the A tier with her light rework. So the light rework, the eclipse rework, put Mirage in a really, really good spot. Mirage is one of those few frames that really does benefit from a pure armor strip, simply on the basis of if they don't have armor, the disco ball is going to melt their existence out of the planet. That's just how it is. Mirage is good. Not broken, but really fucking good. Necros. Necros is a pure gameplay loop frame. It just is C tier all the way. I think Necros, with a few touch-ups here and there, get away from this goddamn farming third ability bullshit because there are just other frames that do it better. And let's put something else on there more useful. And please, for the love of God, give this motherfucker some better animations because his casting time is stupid. Neja, easy A tier frame. One of the highest survivability frames next to Revenant, simply on the basis of you hit me with damage and I'm going to throw up armor that is going to make you gasp and go, holy shit. He can also cleanse his own status effects. He can do his Divine Spears build, which is good. But there's also negative that comes to it. So, you know, like, just saying. Neja is really, really good. Now, this is one of the few gameplay loop frames that I am actually not going to put as a C tier, and it's just because his level of survivability is kind of busted. Okay? I cannot shit completely all over Nidus. Nidus is, in my opinion, a B tier frame. Okay? Not, like I said, B tier above, good frame. It's just a matter of the... Nidus is all about controlling areas of the map and killing everything in it while being linked to something so you use them as a blood bank. Okay? Redirecting damage, you know, building mutation stacks, having immortality functions. I mean, there is so much good in between having abundant mutation and parasitic vitality and arcane blessing. Those three things pretty much make Nidus to where he just refuses to die no matter how much goddamn damage is thrown at him. As long as his abilities are not nullified, it really just doesn't matter. He doesn't care. He will smile and eat bullets and just be this weapons platform of death. Nova. Without question, Nova has become a true A+ frame. Nova is just good. Okay, it's the best way I can possibly put it. Nova is just really good. Nyx got a rework. Nyx got buffs, right? Nyx got better. Because in my personal opinion, Nyx was like a solid C tier frame before. Now Nyx is a B+ tier frame. That is nothing to scoff at. Nyx does have complete invincibility while she's in her bubble. There is a lot of ways to combat energy consumption issues. But again, we have armor strip that can make overguard. We have, you know, basically just taking over an enemy's mind and making them be, you know, using Mind Freak, just making them be an absolute fucking tank to kill enemies and be your buddy for a while. You can cause enemies and have bum fights. I can absolutely see the argument for Nyx to go up to an A, but personally for me, Nyx is a B+ frame. Just saying. So, our next buddy, let me find him. Oberon! We already know a rework is coming. I've been saying it for probably 2 years now. Oberon needs a rework. He just does. Oberon is very usable right now, but personally I think Oberon absolutely needs a fucking rework, so there's that. Next frame, Octavia. I will tell you this, the only S tier frame in this list. There is a reason. Octavia is quite literally broken. Octavia does not care. She scales damage output and buffs the fuck out of your weapon output and your speed output and everything else. Octavia literally is just fucking cracked. Okay? 100% cracked. No question. It's not even a subjective standpoint. It's literally just look at Octavia's kit in comparison to her function in the game. The biggest downside to Octavia is she's fucking boring. But if your biggest problem with a frame is that you have to spam crouch, depending on your duration, for me, it's like 51 seconds. If you have to spam crouch once every 51 or 52 seconds to re-up your invisibility, and you basically just nuke areas of the map, that's boring as shit. I'm not going to lie. It's a static-ass gameplay, but it fucking kills all the way to level cap. It just takes forever to do it. Araxia. Araxia has a lot of good. Okay, not even gonna lie. Araxia has a lot of good. I'm putting Araxia right now at a B tier. Araxia is good. Araxia also has limitations. Araxia is fun, but Araxia has limitations. Everything that you can say good about her, you also have to say bad about her, because there's good, but there's bad. Araxia has scuttlers, but they're dumb. You know, Araxia has two really good, you know, really decent weapons that actually work really, really well hand in hand together, but you can't use them with her. Or you really don't want to. You can use one of them for sure, but the other one you can't if you're using her ultimate, which is kind of the point of the frame, so you can't even use a melee. That's another big negative. You cannot use a melee with her, because your first ability acts like a fucking melee. It uses all the mechanics of a melee, but then if you subsume off the first ability, you still can't use a melee. There's good. There's a lot of good and a lot of fun with Araxia, but there are some negatives that are just kind of goofy. Nothing to shit on because, like I said, B tier and B tiered above, very good. Protea. Absolutely an A tier, if not A plus tier frame. Protea is unbelievably survivable, unbelievably self-sustainable, and a massive damage output frame. Just can't even question it. Just can't. Corvex, like Lavos, C plus frame. Yes, even with Corvex's newest augment of basically being fucking invincible, it's really, really stuck in that. So if you don't use that, you are just like Lavos. Whole lot of health, whole lot of armor, very little shields, and some status and vulnerability. Pick your poison. Revenant. I know there's a lot of people that will say Revenant is S tier. And albeit I don't disagree that basic invincibility is very much an S tier kind of thing, Revenant is an A plus frame. It's hard to argue with the fact of I'm never going to die as long as this ability is turned on. I do understand that, and I very much understand the thought behind it. Revenant is the highest survivable frame in this game, without question. With so little effort. He's basically, I'm going to turn on Mesmer Skin and I'm going to be the weapons platform of death, and I will put one subsume on here of whatever the fuck I choose to do, and it doesn't even matter other than Roar, which just increases all of your weapon damage output, which is just a win in the book of all things considered. Rhino. This one hurts my soul to do this. Because of the hiccups with Rhino. Rhino is a C plus frame. Now, I'm going to explain why. Because Rhino should be an A. Okay? Rhino should be right there side by side with Nezha. Not even going to lie. When you can build up millions of Overguard, you should be an A tier frame. But when those millions of Overguard are subjective to a nullifier, a null comba, a soul comba, violence, or falling off of a map, that is a massive problem. It is something that almost made me put Rhino as a D tier, and basically in regards of needs a rework, but he works, right? Like, Rhino doesn't need a top to bottom rework. Rhino as a whole is a very functional frame, but Rhino horribly suffers from a couple of really stupid problems. His second ability being stuck as a true ability instead of a static overguard is really dumb, so it can be dispelled, and all the effort and all the bullet sponging and everything else is for naught. Okay, and then his other problem is him, like Frost, suffers from the huge problem of, I was given a prime, I was not given more energy. Frost and Rhino both need more energy, but with his entire basis of survivability based around being an ability that gives you overguard but can be dispelled by anything that can turn abilities off, including your own goof up of falling off a map, that is a dumb ass problem. Take Dante, go build up your max overguard, jump off the map, tell me if you still have overguard. Do it with Rhino. You know what's going to happen? You won't have overguard. Hence why Rhino is a C plus tier frame. Yes, I know that is a player-specific problem, but it is a problem nonetheless, and I will not even discuss that it is a different scenario until they fix it. That is just the truth. Saren is a straight A frame. This frame is, I think, the only frame in this game that no matter what the hell nerfs they do in this game, this bitch just laughs and smiles. I 100% see the argument for Saren being an A+ tier frame. I could technically, with the right build, something probably more outside of my gameplay style, I could see an argument for Saren being an S tier frame. Again, this is the unfortunate side of doing tier lists, is you get my subjective view. But I'm not oblivious to the fact of just how ungodly destructive frames are. Saren is one of those frames that basically gets shot in the face with the nerfs of this game, smiles, and then kills you. That's what Saren does. Unbelievably destructive. We're going to go with Sevagoth being an absolute A+. I mean, again, plant of Seed of Death, cause Seed of Death to explode, enemy die. This also scales really well. Lifesteal, when you start taking bullets in your ass, Sevagoth just kills everything and just really is, kind of has no prejudice to it whatsoever. So it's a really good time. Stynex. Where the hell did I put Stynex? Ah. Stynex. Another A-tier frame. Excellent squad support. Armor stripping isn't nearly as important as getting health back. You can build energy for your squad. You can give overguard to your squad at pretty ridiculous amounts. And, yeah, you have a solid grouping ability. There's really not much to complain about with Stynex. He's just a really damn good frame. Just saying. Temple. Temple, funny enough, could be all the way down with Side 09. But, my personal opinion, Temple survivability is far, far and away better than Side 09's. That, in itself, makes Temple a solid B+ tier frame. Now, is Temple and Lizzie pretty much the way you want to play? Kind of like Side 09 and his giant sniper rifle? Yes, but not the only way. You do not have to use Lizzie in order to make Temple function. You don't have to use Side 09's sniper rifle, but considering what that fucking thing does, it's kind of hard to shit on that sniper rifle. Just saying. Titania. I love Titania. I think Titania is a stellar frame. I think Titania is a lot of fun, right? With all that being said, Titania is a B+. Titania is really good. Okay, Titania has one of the best flight mechanics because it's just like an Arcwing, except in the size of a fucking mosquito. Well, a large bit. We'll call it a mayfly. But you have to build Titania just right in order to get to that level of gameplay. And even at that level of gameplay, look at all the frames above her. Right? Like, look at all the frames above Titania and tell me who's worse than her. I mean, is she equal to all of these frames in regards to survivability, damage output, so on and so forth? No. She's really fast. She's got her own little angry guns. She is the size of a fucking mayfly. And she likes hurting people. It's like Tinkerbell on her period. Just saying. Trinity. Trinity is one of those frames that, for the longest time, I shit all over because I was just like, oh my god, Wisp is so much better than Trinity, right? Wisp is so much better than Trinity. I started playing her right. Trinity is easily an A-tier frame, especially since they gave her some touch-up love. Oh my god, Trinity is an easy A-tier frame. Above that, no. But an easy A-tier frame. Valkyr, post-rework. Now, pre-rework, I was dropping Valkyr way down the fucking list because Valkyr was basically either use Warcry, Ripline was kind of a joke, Paralysis was very much a joke, so use Warcry plus some shield gating and then, you know, try to basically use her as a really fast fucking weapons platform in a sense, or you just basically flop into Hysteria, make sure you've got plenty of efficiency, and just kill the fuck out of everything with a whole lot of slide attacks. Now, she's become more interesting. I do think that, yes, the rework was not good to Valkyr. I think taking away the total invincibility, especially when they keep giving us augments that give invincibility, is kind of dumb. Because look at Corvex. Turn on fourth ability, invincible. He's a meh frame, right? Like, he's okay. He's a utility frame best as far as where I've placed him. And then you had somebody like Valkyr who was turn on fourth ability, become invincible, but I slash people like an angry, crazed Wolverine. I think Valkyr is more interesting after the rework. Not as boring. Ripline is very good. You know, Warcry, being able to cast it while moving, very good. Hysteria, now having the ability to negate death twice over and is very, very quick to rebuild that particular function. Valkyr is a solid B tier frame. Absolutely solid B tier frame. Vauban, D tier, needs a rework. There's a lot of ways that you can build Vauban, but at the end of the day, Vauban without shield gating is kind of a painful experience. I'm sorry, but that's just where I stand with Vauban. I think Vauban has so much potential. I really do. I think Vauban has a ton of potential, but I also find that Vauban is just kind of painfully sitting to the side going, oh my god, I hate my life. Volt, easy A tier frame. No question about that. Volt, especially since the shock, the shock trooper bump up, the eclipse fix. So basically you can just kind of drop an ability, throw Eclipse on him, and just use him as a speed melee shock trooper frame. He is really good. Varuna. As much as Cyto 9 has problems with invisibility being his survivability, at least with Varuna, you build your own energy, you build your own, you get health orbs, and you can mark a singular enemy for a high-flying power slam with something like the Archititron and just nuke a room and a half while you fucking do it. Varuna is an easy A+ frame. Or I'm sorry, A frame, not A+. Wisp. With something like the existence of Dante, you don't need to go fast, you don't need health regen. You don't need to electrocute people. All you need is Overguard, right? Wisp has sadly fallen from an A+ area to an A. Wisp is still exceptionally good, but Wisp also suffers from problems, okay? I can just tell you across the board, okay? The rest of these frames are all A tier frames. Wukong, Exalted rework made Wukong's Iron Staff very good. Wukong's self-sustainability plus immortal abilities very good. Zaku, though condemn over, personally in my opinion, Zada's Whisper, because Zada's Whisper is better on other things. But you kind of build as you are. When we get to the Zaku build, you'll see what I mean. In September. Sorry, there's that many frames. 3 a week and it's still going to be September, and the whole back end of fucking September is going to be just videos. But basically, use Condemn, lock enemies down, steal their guns. You can lock down areas with armor strip. I mean, like, Zaku's just really goddamn good with no survivability. Run shields, you're fine. Ureli, A-tier frame. She's like the water-based version of Neja. Arcane Grace plus Merlina. Have a nice fucking day. I don't know what to tell you. Sea snares, coupling with the sea snares that come from Merlina. Yes, they are a little hokey as far as what they target. I don't give a shit. Throwing a shit ton of damage vulnerability on enemies is just a good fucking time. Zephyr, 100% an A tier frame. Not even a question. I could see an argument for Zephyr being an A+ tier frame, because hovering around, not being able to be shot, using tornadoes that deal a shit ton of, just a metric fuck ton of damage just by shooting the tornado. Damn the enemies that are in it. Just shoot the tornadoes and the enemies that are flying above get wrecked and they die. I can easily see the argument for Zephyr being an A+. Right now, I've got her in an A. I don't understand why people shit all over Zephyr. I just don't get it. It is what it is. That is my subjectively silly tier list. Y'all, let me know what you think of this, because as always, I know I'm gonna get shit. I do every single time, but this is why I say tier lists are subjectively silly. So thank you very much, folks. As always, we'll catch you in the next one.